Thank you for everyone joining us today. We do have a poll going on right now asking if you are a member of AFP, and it looks like a majority of those who are on the call are not members of AFP. So a little plug for AFP. We are the preeminent fundraising member organization in the world with over 35,000 members internationally. I have the fortunate duty to serve the local Palm Beach County chapter as chapter president. I'm Josh Hirsch. I work for Susan G. Komen as the social content marketing manager. I have been in nonprofit in the fundraising world going on more than a decade now, and feel very fortunate to have great members of our chapter like Ben Starling. Ben is, I'm gonna let Ben introduce himself, but once again, for housekeeping purposes, please keep yourself muted and your video off so Ben can have the floor. This is going to be recorded and we will share it afterwards. Just one quick question. If you wouldn't mind sharing in the chat where you're tuning in from today. I know we have people from all over the US. I've seen my friends from New Jersey. I see some friends from Washington State. Yep, there we go. Kirk is from Seattle, Washington. We got Tallahassee, Florida, West Palm. I see St. Louis, Sarasota's coming through. Jupiter, New York City, West Palm. Ben, you're reaching the United States this morning, so this is wonderful. Once again, if you have some questions, feel free to drop those into the chat, and I'd be happy to relay those to Ben. Ben, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you. It is an honor. I realized as you were talking, Josh, some people don't know what AFP stands for, and that's Association for Fundraising Professionals. So those of us in the fundraising profession, this is our professional society. This is our association where fundraisers come together to learn, mentor, and encourage, and that sort of thing. And when I was starting my career in fundraising in the late 80s, I attended what was basically entitled Fundraising 101. And they gave me a notebook. And I kept that notebook for probably 20 years. And I continually referred back to it. And so AFP has been instrumental in my career. And they have chapters all over the United States and all over the world. So those of you tuning in, you may want to check out your local chapter because it can be an invaluable resource for information, encouragement, and that sort of thing. So what I would like to talk about today is something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is, of course, fundraising, but a specific brand of fundraising, that's major gifts. My career has been spent in fundraising. I love it. I wake up every day thinking about it. There's nothing I love more than to take on a client or to work for somebody and figure out how to get money coming in the door. I consider myself very, very blessed for having the opportunity to know what my calling is in life and to be able to operate fulfilling that. I think my life is much more fulfilled as a result of it. And one thing that that you will see on my, if I can figure out how to change the screen here, on my business cards and that sort of thing is this this phrase. It is also a verse from the Bible, and that is, "To whom much is given, much is required." And the first time I heard that was at a Jewish funeral, and I was just enamored with that because I felt that kind of summed up my life and my life's work. So I adopted that as kind of a phrase associated with my work. And in fundraising, you'll hear that a lot, especially if you're in Jewish fundraising, that there is such a belief of giving back. And I think one of the neatest things about us fundraisers is the fact that we get a chance to help people give back. Our way to give back is to help people give back. And that's a big calling in life. One of the greatest things about fundraising is the people that you get to meet. And so one of the people that has been instrumental in my life, if you ever bought an Amway product or went to an Orlando Magic game, the man by the name of Rich DeVos. He's a billionaire, was a billionaire. He passed away almost 2 years ago. I worked with 12, 13 billionaires in my career, and this is the billionaire that spent the most time with me and decided he was going to clean me up and make me into a pretty decent fundraiser. So from that, I gained a whole new perspective, and we can all learn fundraising from from a book, another fundraiser. But when you have the insight of someone who's given away $1 billion, the insight from a philanthropist on how to fundraise is far different than anything you're going to get otherwise. And so I wrote this manual from the perspective of what I was taught by Rich DeVos and also the late Jerry Panis. I worked with Jerry for a while, and things these gentlemen taught me have been invaluable in my career. During the time whenever COVID struck, I'd always get calls from people, wanting to know how should I be raising more money? Then when COVID struck, it became a real issue because the calls started coming in. Hey, we raise 90% of our charitable dollars from a gala, a luncheon, some sort of special event or special events. And all of a sudden, those things have been canceled. And for many of these organizations, they're going to close down as a result of that. They were not diversified in their fundraising. And for the majority of them that relied on special events, they did not have a major gifts program. So during this time, I was very convicted that I needed to do something to help, but I didn't have enough bandwidth to just help everybody. And I had to do something that was very hard for me to do, and that was to tell people, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you. What I was moved to do was to create a manual on major gifts, and not just any manual. You get a lot of things. You go to a seminar and they get you hyped up and they want you to buy more stuff, or they get you to dream big, but then you have to retain their services in order to actually do it. They have to tell you how to do it. Well, I wanted a manual that told people how to raise major gift support, and have sections in there with every step that was a reality check, but also a section of working smarter, not harder, and to give people tangible examples in a how-to format, almost like a beginning cooking program where you lay out the recipe in step-by-step instruction. And so that's what I did. And one of the things that does make this a bit unique is when you've learned fundraising from the side of the philanthropist, and especially a major philanthropist, the element of human touch is not always translated in other materials. This approach has always worked for me. It's been the hallmark of my fundraising, and that is personal touch. This was driven into me by folks like Jerry Panis and Rich DeVos, and I incorporated that throughout because I believe that is the key to major gift fundraising. And as we all know, major gifts are the lifeblood of every organization. And I like to say that fundraisers, meaning fundraising professionals, we are the fuel to the engine that makes the organization go. So those are that's kind of a introduction to what we're going to be talking about today. And I want to define for you the two types of fundraisers I often see, and that is the diligent student and the gambler. When someone often ends up in fundraising, it may not have been their first choice. They may not have gone to high school and said, when I graduate or when I grow up, I'm going to be a fundraiser. People end up in fundraising for a number of different reasons, and there's two personality traits that are prevalent. And one is the diligent student, and that is someone that does incredible research into a donor. They study it. If you're going to build a building, they know every spec of the building. They know everything about it. but they are almost frozen and have the ability or inability to ask. They are a great student, but unfortunately they can't move. The gambler is, I have to tell you more of my personality, where you keep your boss up at night because the boss doesn't have to worry if you're going to raise money or not. What they worry about is how, in fact, they are going to raise money and what you may have promised someone when they said, "Can I come out and see the place?" What type of grand tour do we have to do for the individual? I tend to, a lot of times, fly by the seat of my pants. I'm not disciplined about a whole lot of things in life. However, I am disciplined about fundraising. And I have to tell you, the best fundraiser is a combination of both of these. And if you find yourself in one of these two categories, you need to figure out how to embrace the strength of the other in order to just be the best that you can be. So let's get started here. One thing that I tell all my clients, and if you don't remember anything what I say today, you must remember this about major gift fundraising. You must get on the donor's agenda before they will get onto yours. In a place like Palm Beach County, we have thousands of nonprofits that are actively fundraising on a daily basis. And although we have a wealth of potential donors, donors with deep pockets, we have a lot of competition for that dollar. And so one of the mistakes that fundraisers make, especially those new to major gifts, is you automatically assume, well, John Doe just bought a $10 million house in Palm Beach, and I'm going to send him a letter, and we're going to ask him to be chairman of our gala, or we're going to ask him to name the building. They will send something like that with not having done any research, knowing nothing about the individual, and just the belief that, hey, they're going to give. And my belief is you have to figure out what is the donor's agenda, what is important to them. And when you figure out what's important to them and you help them on what's important to them, that's when they're going to say, hey, Ben, tell me about that project you're working on. Ben, hey, maybe I should come out and see the organization where you work. Ben, what is it that you do for a living? So please remember this and incorporate this into every aspect of your fundraising. Many places, when I go in and teach major gifts, if I have 20 people in a room, the first thing I ask is, what's a major gift? And I get a lot of answers. And in a live audience, this slide works well because we ask people to raise their hands. And the answer is all of the above. When I worked for the Scripps Research Institute, a major gift was considered $100,000. At Museum of the Bible, a major gift was considered $500,000. Places like Harvard with billion-dollar endowments, $1 million gift may be the beginning of a major gift. To a small nonprofit, $5,000 may be a major gift. So determining what is a major gift for your organization is key. From there, you need to ask yourself, if a donor is going to give me a major gift, are we going to accept it over a pledge period? Are we going to allow people to pledge it? And if so, for how long? What's your pledge period? How long does that last? Average length of time, 1 to 3 years for large gifts, 5 to 10, and for some mega gifts up to 20 years. But that's an important thing for you to know before you get in front of a donor, and that's something that you'll want to discuss with your accounting department, your CFO, the treasurer, and your executive director. For planning purposes, that's key. Another thing you want to take into consideration is what type of instruments will you accept as payment for a major gift. Most people automatically think, oh, we'll take cash, stocks, bonds, we'll take a check. That's great, but will you accept real estate, jewelry, vehicles, artwork, furniture, rugs, sterling silver, precious metals, or assigned debt. There are some, I know of a law firm one time that gave assigned debt on a pending case to an organization. So it requires you to think a little more and to determine this before you move forward. Another thing that's very important and can be sensitive in faith-based circles is, will you offer naming rights in exchange for a major gift? In faith-based circles, some people, really stray away from that. In some churches, in Catholic churches, they're happy for you to name a pew or a wing. You go to evangelical churches, that is a no-no. You don't do that. Some organizations are very much like that too. So you have to know what the temperature is for naming. And it's not just naming of a tangible, like a building, a wing, an elevator. In my manual, I ask you to list out, what are the intangible things that can be named in your organization? Most people say, what exactly do you mean by that? So if you have a Christmas program where you deliver meals to needy families at Christmas, you can assign a name to that. That would be considered an intangible. So it could be the Josh Hirsch food for families. If you have a school and you have an honors program, it could be the Linda Coldenhoven Scholastic Achievement Program. So when you're thinking of opportunities for naming, please keep in mind the things that are already existing, and your accounting department, your boss, will be thrilled to name something that already exists, because that money can be put into general budget, and it names something that's already there, doesn't require any work to it other than maybe a plaque or some branding on literature. And again, your boss will be very thrilled that you're not raising money for something that's going to cost something. Major gift fundraising is very different from other types of fundraising, especially those of you who've come out of special event fundraising. Major gift fundraising is an exclusionary process. Not everybody is welcome to play in the major gift sandbox. You think about it, if you are event driven and you have a luncheon where you raise a lot of money and your luncheon ticket's $150, your target audience is someone who can, your target audience is anyone who can give you $150 because you want to sell tickets. In major gift fundraising, it's very different because not everyone has a potential to give a major gift. And when people give major gifts, they have what we're going to get into later, and that's a propensity to give to your mission or to your organization. So your world is about to change, and it's going to require kind of a paradigm shift in your thinking, where a special event is a short-term ask, and you wonder, can you buy a ticket to my event 3 months from now? That's very different from, can you name a wing at our organization? A lot of people will buy a ticket to anything just because they go where their friends are going. Very few people just decide they're going to give a major gift somewhere where they have no involvement without some sort of strong personal relationship. When I think of the traits that are required for that, someone that is disciplined, they're focused, they're strategic, and that's because your time has to be used very efficiently, and it's not what we would call in the South a y'all come type of mentality to that fundraising. It's more of the rifle approach as opposed to the shotgun approach. And probably one of the most profound words of advice in regard to major giving came from Rich DeVos, and he would remind me of this, and it was he'd say, Ben, when you need to raise big money, do not spend time with people who don't have big money. And as simple as that sounds, when you transition from a special event focused fundraising to major gifts, there is the tendency to do what you know, and that is engage everybody to give. Well, you know, as these words say, when you need to raise big money, you don't spend time with people who don't have big money. So keep that in mind as you were thinking about how to reallocate your time. So I broke the major gift fundraising into six steps, and the first being the most important, I believe, and that's making a list. And the goal of that is to ask for the largest gift possible. And you'll notice in the strategy, it speaks of developing a list of top prospects with propensity to give. So often in fundraising, again, from special events, it conditions us to, gee, we're having a gala, we're having a luncheon, we need a $2,500 sponsorship, we need somebody to buy a table. Let's go down the phone book and let's look at all the law firms, let's look at the medical practices. You know, here is a invitation from another charity, and they put their host committee, so I'm going to put all those people down. That's not the way that it works in major gift fundraising, and it's important that that you look for propensity, and I define propensity as those with the ability to give at a major giving level, with a demonstrated track record or a demonstrated history of giving to a similar mission. So you say, Ben, what exactly do you mean by that? It means that if John and Sally come to town and you read in the paper that they've bought a $20 million home in Palm Beach, and you Google them and you see that they came from, say, Philadelphia, and in Philadelphia they supported the food bank. In fact, they named the food bank. If I were a charity that dealt with any form of hunger, those individuals, John and Sally, would be someone that I would put on my list as a prospect, because they have a propensity to give to an organization like mine. That is key. When you look at those also in your organization that have been lifelong supporters, those that have been very helpful to your organization, that you know are people of means, you want to look at those people. Longevity of giving speaks very highly to propensity. I wanted to show you a sample of what a list looks like, and I just put a few of the things that I look for, and especially for people who are just getting started here. And it's vitally important, let me tell you, to have this in writing for a couple of different reasons. First and foremost is it keeps you on track. Second of all, it also can keep you from being fired. When your boss says, hey, what are you doing? You can produce a list and you can show them the people that you are working. And I keep a basic list of people that have worked for me when I've been in charge of a development operation. This is kind of what we look for. And this is a quick list that I require everyone to have. You'll notice at the top, I put up there an update. I like to know when people hand those in that we are working from the most current list. And it's fairly easy on here to determine what the columns mean. For those, natural partner, for those who may not know what that means, that's the individual that is closest to the donor or donor prospect that might have some sway over them, that might have the ability to feed in to this decision. These are the people that they relate to that would be involved with the organization. We'll get later on to talk about peer-to-peer. but this is a basic template of how you should lay out your caseload. Let me also say, Josh has asked me to send the slides out to everyone, so you'll see this. You can use Excel spreadsheet. I'm old school. I prefer Microsoft Word. A table insert works better for me. Whatever works best for you. And this is very, very important that you keep this. A lot of fundraisers, especially those that are the gambler type, they just keep it right up here. And if they get hit by a bus, all their work is not known because of they took it with them. There was nothing in writing. To the diligent student, that's all they do is generally keep lists. So their list will be immaculate and in incredible detail. You don't have to do something very lengthy. You're looking for the basics here. As a fundraiser, I read over my prospect list every morning, every afternoon, because I need to be reminded of what I need to be looking for. Those people need to be top priority to me. Step 2 is research. And, you know, again, it goes back to making the list and those with propensity to give and looking for those that have a demonstrated giving history to your organization or a like-minded organization. When you understand, again, what the donor's agenda is, that will certainly help you have the leg up when you approach them on behalf of your organization. And someone may say, well, you know, Ben, what's the use in that? And tell me a little bit more. So I want to show you, this is a sample of what I use with my clients. This is basic research on a donor, and it tells me, you know, birthdays, remembering those are important. It tells me someone's faith. When you know what someone believes, that tells you a lot about how they're going to give. It tells you their philanthropy. Where is that? Where do they give? Where they demonstrated their charitable dollars? A net worth from a wealth engine screening, personal information. This is often key. And you look at this and you'd say, oh, it's a friend of Bill. Those who may not know, friend of Bill is code for people that are in recovery, like Alcoholics Anonymous. So in inviting John Doe to a wine tasting would not be a real good thing, or inviting him to a Super Bowl party and you announce on there that you know, with special craft beers, and that's the focus of the gathering. This is not the place to invite that gentleman. In the notes, when you visit someone's home, their office, you know, reading the room, do they have photos out? What's important to them? You know, to know what the person collects. That's huge. Making note of this, and please don't think that, gee, I don't know any of this stuff. Some of this you can get from a Google search, but you have to do it the old-fashioned way. You got to get in front of the people in order to complete this. But you definitely need to to focus on something like this, say for your top 10 prospects, because more than likely you're going to involve maybe a board chair or someone like that in the ask. And you need also to prep your executive director, your CEO, maybe the founder of the organization, give them a heads up as to the insights of the person. You know, these things also become talking points. So that is, that's very important. Let me also point out, public record is incredible. You can look up people's political contributions. You can look up stock holdings. You can find pretty much anything online. So being able to get a thumbnail or a feel for someone based on just some basic information, Google search is so easy, and that will give you the leg up, and the goal, giving you the competitive edge. If you're running into this gentleman at a cocktail party and he has a collection of Roman art and that's a hot button with him, you better be up on your Roman art history so that you can engage. That's going to get the man's interest. His interest right off the bat is going to be, gee, Ben, tell me about the organization that you work for and how much money you need to raise. That is not going to be the first question out of his mouth. The first question out of your mouth better be, tell me about your Roman art collection. How'd you get into that? Tell me what that means to you. That's going to get you to first base. So research is important. Step number 3, know the donor. The goal, presenting the ask successfully. Your strategy is arriving properly prepared, knowing what to listen for. Few gifts arrive in major gifts via emotion. Taking a table at an event, that sort of thing. A lot of those things, your friends are going, yeah, I'll do it. But when you ask someone for a major gift, they stop and think about it. Emotion might get you to the third base, but what gets you to home it is often the donor's ability to research something and to look at what is important to them. There are some donors that believe in hand up giving. There are some donors that believe in hand out giving. And the way you present to those people, to those two constituencies, is totally different. So knowing which the donor is key to the success in your proposal whenever it is presented. I put together in my manual 8 things donors need to see before an ask. And I'm sharing number 4 with you because I think it's often the most important, and that is they need to see organizational leadership. So often donors will tell you, I do not give money to people I don't know. And you think about it, if you made a lot of money, you're not just willy-nilly going to part with $1 million or $500,000 or $100,000. You're going to do your due diligence, and you need to vet the people. So you think, who are these people? Who are the leadership? Is it the CEO, the president of your organization, the board chairman, the directors? They're going to want to vet those people because they need to know that those people are responsible. They want to know what those people's backgrounds are. Have those people ever managed $1 million of somebody else's money? Do they even have $1 million of their own money? And how have they handled it? Because that is one of the greatest predictors of how they're going to handle your money. Also, the leadership needs to define: are they responsible? Do they think like the donor? If a donor has a hand up mentality, does the leadership of the organization have that same mentality? Because if they have a hand out mentality and it's, Mr. Donor, give us your money and we're just going to essentially hand it out, that probably is not going to work really well. And those are some things that you're going to have to work around. And entrusting someone. And I'll give you an example. There was a family that was going to make a large gift, a $7 million bequest to their church. And they decided not to make it because they watched how the church at business meetings fought over. One time they had a bequest of about $50,000 from a lady that died. They saw how the church handled that, and it was a mess. And they said, if they squabbled over $50,000, what in the world are they going to do with $7 million? So they ended up putting it in a trust for the church. But unfortunately for the church, they only get the proceeds from it. They never get the benefit of having or managing the entire thing. So again, this is what someone with wealth is going to be looking for. Again, if you have a special event, they're not going to be interested in how your organization is run if they buy, 2 luncheon tickets for $500. They don't care. They're more interested in what friends are going to be there, and maybe will they end up in a picture in the society pages. Something as part of this chapter that I put in there, things fundraisers need to understand before an ask. And number 5 on this list are peers. And you remember me speaking at one of the previous steps about the importance of others. One thing that you get with a lot of business people, the self-made wealthy, they want to make sure that they're not the only deep pocket in the game. They also want to make sure that they're not giving to something that is a black hole, meaning that if I give you $1 million this year, are you going to have to come back and ask me for 1.1 million next year because you've got no way of supporting this? So having a peer support system is vitally important. Knowing who the person is that the donor or the prospect cannot say no to, that's exactly the person you need to have make the pitch. It also speaks to peers that are involved that provide the stamps of approval. I thought about where I went to college. Those of you who were West Palm Beach County people, you'll remember Dr. Donald Warren, who was the chairman of the board of Palm Beach Atlantic, raised tens of millions of dollars for the school. He was a cardiologist and fine man, very well respected. And when people saw that Dr. Warren was involved in something, they automatically knew this is a great thing. And because Don Warren's involved, I'm going to be involved. Also, some of you may remember the Kravis Center. Alex Dreyfus is a philanthropist in our area. Very smart man, MIT grad. He is the reason that our arts are so successful and prevalent in our area. And people trusted Alex. And when Alex went to them and said, hey, I need $1 million for this project, or I need $10 million, they automatically knew, I don't really need to do that much homework on this because Alex has already done it for me. And if Alex is involved, I'm going to be involved as well. So that's very, very important. Peer-to-peer solicitation and major gift fundraising is vital. Step 4, strategic touch, and that is getting to a successful ask. Touch points in fundraising, one thing builds upon another, and when I define that as the art of engaging a donor without the donor realizing they are being engaged. And there is nothing that can turn off a donor or a prospect faster than feeling as if they're being worked. So you think about when you go to buy a car, buy insurance, or you have somebody start chatting up when you're on vacation about how beautiful the beach is and wouldn't it be nice, and you realize they're selling a timeshare. They realize they're being worked. So again, the art of engaging a donor without the donor realizing they are being engaged. And that comes from number 1, loving the donor as a friend. It's being honest, it's being compassionate, and it's also having done your homework to know that if there is no chance that you are going to get a donation from this person, you don't keep drilling them in hopes of something. There is a point in time where you continue to be friends with them, but you don't focus your energy there. And that's often a tough thing for people that are new to fundraising. When people think of fundraising, the rule of thumb is, 7 steps to an ask, several touches. I I will tell you, only those who truly love fundraising really excel at this point, and they excel because it comes naturally to them. And whenever you begin to engage people and begin to touch them strategically on behalf of your organization, some of the questions that you're going to get, who does your PR? Because I think PR is lacking. I don't like your logo. Who did that? Hey, can we plan a black tie gala? How can I be considered for the board? In addition to giving, how can I be involved? And you might read those and say, oh, gee, what am I going to do now? They're not interested. They're picking the organization apart. Consider these a good sign. It's a good sign because they're taking a look under the hood. They bothered to investigate. When they say, can we have a black tie? Automatically in their mind, they're thinking, gee, maybe I can help with fundraising, and this is a way that we should do it. So you best have answers for these questions as you begin to engage someone, because these are some of the most asked questions that you're going to get. Some examples of strategic touch: handwritten note with a copy of a press release, a birthday remembrance, an article of interest, a photo of a recent project that captures mission accomplishment. That's a wonderful thing to send. And it's a wonderful thing to send because you're informing them. You're not asking them for anything. You're not going to give them a test afterwards. Did they read all of it? A photo, what's the saying? A picture's worth 1,000 words. Very much in fundraising, a picture that captures your mission is incredible. If you don't believe me, turn on your TV and watch a picture of St. Jude Children's Hospital. Their pictures capture their mission right on target, and people are moved because of that. Invitations to gatherings with a personal note. Again, the donor or the prospect sees you reaching out, not asking for anything, and then you take note. Are they coming to these things? Are they calling and saying thank you? What is it that they're doing with it? And also VIP experiences. Those of us who live in concentrations of wealth, we always have important people coming to town. There's always opportunities to hear some of these people speak, to meet them. Inviting your donors to something like that. In buying a table for the Forum Club whenever a Supreme Court justice speaks. If it's a conservative justice, you'll invite your conservatives. If you have liberals, buy a table and bring all your liberals. Do not mix the conservatives and the liberals at the same table. That's you don't want to do that. But look for VIP experiences where your people say, wow, that might be nice to go and do that. And especially, you getting the credit for thinking of them. And again, that's because you've done your homework. And often that's not something that another organization is doing. Very few organizations do that. So it is showcasing to them that you are on their agenda. You are inviting them to something that is important to them or of interest to them. They remember that. That's very, very important. Let me see here. On step 5, one of the things that that is going to be very important to you is a strategy, what I call a game plan strategy. And that's defining steps to an ask. And oftentimes you can say, well, I've got 20 people on my list. I'm just going to follow up with them. Well, sometimes that can work, but the majority of the time it doesn't. You need to go through and you need to plan out how you're going to engage them. And again, some steps to an ask, on the average is 7. If they've been a long-time supporter of yours, of your organization, may require 1 step, may require 2 steps. But there are things they need to see and feel and hear before they'll commit. And the best way for you to do that is have a strategy. So I want to show you what a strategic timeline looks like for one of your key prospects. And again, you may have already done some of these. It's important that you list them out so you can track your record. Everything you do needs to be captured in a database. So if something happens to you, somebody, your replacement, knows what to do. One of the biggest complaints from fundraisers when they take over another job is there are no records. They didn't leave records. Maybe they got mad, maybe they tore them up, maybe they were in paper, whatever it is. Don't be that employee. And at the end of the day, you need to produce this to be able to show your boss and your superiors your action plan. Your actions with something like this will help lead the way to get them really inspired for major gift fundraising. So laying out this type of a strategy, it's basic, it's clean, it's clear. Also helps you define your calendar. Just looking at your list and saying, gee, I need to reach out to this one for New Year's. I need to do that. When you have this type of template, you can mark your calendar and you can plan your schedule accordingly. And it's documented, so things don't fall between the cracks. And that is essential. I had a situation one time where a donor did not get a return phone call because a group that she was involved with every year was involved with an organization who raised funds during the holiday. And the fundraiser did not put down on his or her list to give her a call and invite her to this. Well, she was the top donor to this fund drive. She got mad and she stopped giving. And this is someone that had given about $100,000 to this fundraising effort. Now, you might say, gosh, that sounds petty on behalf of the donor. Well, you're right. It was incredibly petty. However, it's the donor's money. So she got to decide how her money is spent. And she felt it was best spent with someone who remembered to call her. So don't let something fall between the cracks on that. I cannot emphasize this this enough. One of the key things that you need to do as a part of this and while you're doing it is listen to your donor. You'll see step number 2 on there, listening meeting. I tell people all the time, when you're meeting with a donor or a prospect, first thing you need to do is go on a listening tour. Don't go with 35 talking points of your organization. If it's a real philanthropist, if it's a real major gift supporter, they know exactly why you're there. So don't go in there on your agenda. Go in there just to listen. Find out what's important to them. I raised money for a large biomedical researcher, Scripps, here locally. And I met a new, very wealthy couple to town, and I went to lunch with them. And my boss knew that, and I came back 3 hours later. It was a lengthy lunch, and he said, what did you tell him about Scripps? I said, we didn't even talk about Scripps. He said, what did you talk about? You've been gone for hours. I said, I just listened. So again, I didn't have to ask about what was important to them, because when they told me that their mom had passed away, I said, oh, that's too bad. And they said, she died of breast cancer. So I automatically knew breast cancer was going to be what they were interested in. So I didn't have to show my hand. I didn't have to tip my hand, whatever that saying goes, and show them that I was interested in finding out what diseases they were interested in. I listened, and they told me. So again, they considered me a friend, not someone who was out to solicit them for a donation. And they later gave, and it was great. But you have to listen, and true philanthropists, again, they know why you're there, and they will tell you what you what they want you to know, and eventually it gets around to you being asked, how can we help you? That is so vital. So don't get too antsy. Wait. Question that I'm always asked is, when do I make the ask? And this is what I tell people. I'm going to read it to you so that I don't. It's much more, I think, coherent whenever I read it to you as opposed to tell you. And that is, each donor is different. Until you have spent time with a donor, I cannot answer that question. For a sophisticated philanthropist or a foundation, they will know why you are coming and may simply request a proposal upon the first visit. Or it may take a dozen touches before the subject of funding a specific project is a natural discussion. It takes common sense and intuition to determine when timing is right. In my manual, it lists out the 8 things donors need to see and hear. And I think when you check those boxes, and whenever you've done your job effectively, that's when the donors know they've seen enough, they know enough, they've enjoyed your company, and they begin to ask you, hey, what can we do to help? How can we be involved? That's the greatest, the non-ask is the greatest ask. You also get the times where you have to go and you have to say, will you support this cause? Will you name this building? Will you underwrite this program? You got to do it. Gamblers are much easier to to encourage to take that step. Diligent students, not so much. I want to tell you real quick about one of the greatest asks that I ever heard. It was at my church, and we had a former pastor there. It's one of the founder of Palm Beach Atlantic University, and it was also pastor at First Baptist of West Palm Beach. His name was Dr. Jess Moody. He was from Texas and had this deep voice and very commanding whenever Dr. Moody spoke. And we had a singing group there one Sunday, and they were going to take up a collection for him. And Dr. Moody told everybody he wanted them to stand up so they could reach deep into their pockets. And he said, I want you to remember what the good book says. Cast your bread upon the water, and he'll give you a club sandwich. I've never forgotten that. That to me was like one of the greatest asks that you could ever make. So anyway, in tribute to Dr. Moody, I thought you might enjoy that. The last step is donor stewardship, and after someone is given, the people most likely to give to your organization are those who've already given. So after someone is given, you need to properly steward them so that you ensure another major gift. If you have a philanthropist that is worth, say, $25 million, and they've given you a major gift to your organization, might be $250,000, there is much more to their ability to give than what you received with that one major gift. So it's your job at the stewardship to ensure another major gift. And you do this by engaging your donor. And you say, Ben, what exactly does that mean? We've said thank you, and we don't want to look like we're going back and asking for more. And let me tell you, you're right. You don't want to look like you are going back and asking for more. What you want to do is steward them. And that means you remember their special days, birthdays, anniversaries, the 1-year anniversary, whenever Widow Jones' husband passed away, you make sure you're at her house and take her to lunch that day. You invite your donors to your speakers of interest. You provide meaningful speaking opportunities, and I want to elaborate on that. So if someone is giving your organization quite a bit of money, and they take pride in making a difference, one of the greatest things you can do for your organization and for your donor is invite them to come and tell their story. Invite them to come and tell why they believe in making a difference. What is in their heart that has produced that? And then why they got involved with your organization. And what comes of that is an endorsement, a good housekeeping seal of approval, but it also becomes a further tie between your organization and that donor. It's very hard for a major donor that's giving you the $250,000, but they're worth $25 million. Whenever they've given you this gift to launch a program or keep it going for a year, it's very hard for them to see that program have a need the following year. So that lays the groundwork for you to go back and then ask for what you may call a mega gift or a transformational gift that would endow that program, because you know they have the ability to do that. And so after they have stood up 3 or 4 times telling everybody else why your organization is the greatest and how their life has been changed by it, you really don't have to do much convincing to get them to give again. People that are philanthropists and have been successful, you know, we all like somebody to ask for our advice. And when you ask someone that's made it and has been successful, hey, what do you think about this? How do you think our organization should respond? We're thinking about launching this program. What is it? Hey, our community is hosting community theater to raise interest for the arts. Arts has nothing to do with our organization, but I know you love the arts. You know, could I arrange a time for you to speak with the other arts philanthropists? You know, use your creativity to build that relationship. And again, think of their agenda. What's important to them? How are you going to make them shine? And for we all know we have donors that love the spotlight and they love to shine. They love to be in the social pages. If that's what they like, man, give them that. Because if you're giving them that, that means some other organization probably isn't. And you've tapped into what's important to them, and they are going to keep that going because you are important to their life. That's also why when some fundraisers, some successful fundraisers leave one organization and go to another, that's why a lot of these people follow the fundraiser. And so that, on a personal level, that's going to be key to your professional growth, is you building a following. So I'd like to, as we're winding this down, ask to share with you, and I have a section on frequently asked questions, and you know, the two most common. What's the best way to engage a donor, corporate sponsor, or foundation for the first time? Simply this: go and listen. If they've supported you, go and thank them for that, and ask them, you know, why they gave. Why was that important to them? And whenever you do that, make sure it's a face-to-face visit. And when you go, take note, did they roll out the red carpet for you? Did they maybe put out some punch and cookies? Or did they schedule you for all of 10 minutes, and, you know, at 9.5 minutes, the secretary comes in and thanks you for your time? So take note of how well you are received, because that will speak as to their level of interest. A quote, is a question. They told me not to come looking for money. Should I still go? My answer is always yes, because on the first visit, you're not looking for money. You know, I jokingly say, you know, you don't ask for money on the first date. You got to warm them up. You got to date them. You got to find out what's important to them. Most people don't ask somebody to marry them on the first date, but go listen. And if they reiterate after you get there, that's fine. And let me tell you, there's generally a reason that they've said that. Either there's a hurt, there has been a misfire, something, a bad stewardship, whatever it is. And if you go there and you find it out, apologize, fall on your sword, fall on the organization's sword, but get to the bottom of it. And I'm trying to think where it was said. You attract more flies with honey than vinegar. There is something about when someone is mad about something to sympathize with them a little bit, to listen to them, and then to say, gee, I am so sorry. Because once you've said I'm sorry, they can't go anywhere with that. And so often, I know with me, I used to travel a lot for work, and I was always in the air. And with Delta, they patch you through to customer service in Salt Lake City, and they have their people trained. The first thing out of their mouths is you're rambling, you're telling them how mad you are. Say, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. After about the second or third time they said, I'm so sorry, that kind of takes your fire out and you calm down. And so be the one that builds a rapport. I've had a number of people tell me, hey, I don't support organizations like yours. That's fine. Still going to be nice to you. Still going to love you. You might not get top billing, but if I think there's potential there, even for something, you're going to be on my list. And when they see that you're reaching out to them and you're not asking for anything, that's when, well, maybe I should give them a little something. So consider that. One of the so I have a whole section of hallmarks of remarkable fundraisers, and one of the things I believe is important, and that is a hallmark is connecting the dots. And for people who were again gamblers, who are a bit more attuned to this, and that is the ability to put two and two together. A stellar fundraiser understands a VIP contact will be forever appreciative when he or she is connected with someone who can make their world better, therefore allowing the fundraiser to be seen as a valuable contact. Being owed a favor by a VIP is a powerful thing. Many years ago, one of the top donors to a political party called me because they knew I had a connection to one of the campaigns, a national presidential campaign. And they said, so-and-so is going to be in town and I want 10 minutes of his time. First thing that came to my mind is, gee, why is this person calling me? They're a top donor. All they got to do is pick up the telephone. But they called me. They saw me as someone who was valuable. So I called my friend who was raising money for that campaign. And I said, look, he called and he wants 10 minutes. And, this is a national figure. And my friend, the fundraiser, said, not a problem, I'll make it happen. So I got the honor of being able to call this contact back and said, not a problem, this person is going to be contacting you in a few minutes and I expect a call. So, your ability as a fundraiser is now elevated because you're seen as a valuable contact. So again, it goes back to the gentleman we talked about that had the Roman art collection. Imagine introducing him to another Roman art collector. What a powerful thing that is. And that automatically shows that donor, that major gift contact of yours. Wow, this fundraiser knows a lot of people. This person's very important. I need to take care of this person. So it elevates you beyond, hey, he's always looking for money. That's a reputation you never want to have. This is something that I reemphasize to my clients all the time, and especially those that are wanting major gift support, and that is a reality check. And it's akin to having to tell your best friend they have bad breath. We we all know if we meet someone and they have bad breath, and the first time we meet him, then the next time somebody mentions that person's name, what's going through your mind, and a lot of times out of your mouth, is, gosh, that person has the worst breath. First impressions are everything. And often with donors, we don't get a chance at a second impression. So imagine you're wanting to raise $1 million, you're looking for $1 million gift. The first question I ask you is, does your organization look worthy of $1 million gift? The old phrase in fundraising, people give to worthy causes, not needy organizations, is so true. Is your outside landscape, do you have a fresh coat of paint? Do you have clear signage? Is the donor even going to be able to find your organization if they're driving by? What does the outside say about you? When you go in the lobby, client that I did some work for, they have the overhead lighting with the clear screens over the light bulb, the long ones, I forget what those are called. Well, you could count the bugs up there. So if somebody's asking me for $1 million, I go in their lobby and I look up and they've got bugs in their light shades. That tells me they're not attuned to the small things. They don't attend to details. And right next to that with the lights was their alarm keypad. I ran my finger over it and the dust was so thick. My mother said you could write your name in the dust. Well, that was the way that it was. The receptionist that was there, she was not trained how to greet a VIP that walked through the door. So, ask a friend that is brutally honest to come over and help you determine how your organization looks. Another organization I did work for, I kept telling them, I said, you've got cobwebs all outside of your building in the portico area. And they said, oh, we'll get somebody on this. After 3 weeks, and I would go out there every week, I finally said, guys, come on, we're going to the front of the building. And they said, well, gosh, we don't know this because we don't even use this entrance. We come in the back. And I was just incensed. And I said, guys, you are expecting people to entrust loved ones to your organization, and you charge them a hefty fee for that. And you can't even sweep the cobwebs down. It's not even inviting. I don't know how many of you locally know my friend Ruby Rinker, but her husband at the time, he passed away in the 1990s, was one of the wealthiest men in the United States with his concrete business. And Ruby told me that Mr. Rinker, before he hired his senior level people and even mid-level managers, he'd go to their house. He wanted to meet their families. He wanted to see if they kept up their yard. He wanted to see how they kept up their vehicles, because they were given a vehicle when they went to work for him. He wanted to see how they treated their own property, how they treated their family, how they treated their own home. And if it didn't pass muster, they didn't get very far in the interview process. This day and time, people might say, well, I don't know if that's exactly legal, but nevertheless, donors are looking at those things. And I always share with people locally this picture of the Kravis Center. It's our performing arts hall. When you drive past the Kravis Center, the lighting, the landscaping, the water fountains, the whole bit, it looks worthy of $1 million gift. So consider the Kravis Center your competition for that $1 million. And do you look worthy of it? And if you don't look worthy of it, you need to figure out how to get your place in shape so that you can begin fundraising. Bringing people out to your organization prematurely to see a place that is not well kept, that's disastrous, and that's probably not going to get you a second visit. And much like the crude example of somebody with bad breath, the next time somebody mentions to that donor your organization, gosh, that place is filthy. that place is filthy. Yeah, I don't think it's run very well. That becomes your reputation. That's the reality. Even if it's just the perception, perception becomes reality, and that is a kiss of death in major gift fundraising. But I'd like to leave you with is what is your vision? Um, People, you have your cameras off, I think, so you won't be able to see. But there is a candy bar that was created for fundraisers, and that's the 100 grand bar. And at my live seminars and that sort of thing, I always bring a case of 100 grand bars and I give one to everybody. And I ask him, I said, what's your vision? You know, for some fundraisers, some organizations, they need to raise $100,000 in a year. Some of them need to raise $100,000 in a month. Some of them need to raise $100,000 a week. Maybe you are a fundraiser and you would like to excel in your career and you'd like to make $100,000 a year. Maybe you'd like to make $100,000 every 6 months. Whatever it is, I urge you to go and get a 100 grand bar and keep that on your desk as a reminder. I had a lady today where I spoke in January, and she said, you gave me that 100 grand bar, and she said, I was ready to call it quits. And she said, I landed a $100,000 contract. And she said, I just wanted to tell you about it. That thrilled my soul. So as fundraisers, we got to have a vision of where we're going, and we need to document it. We need to research it and move forward. I thank you for your time in this major gift manual. Taking pre-orders now on the website. If anyone wants more information on it, you can just go to my website, southernphilanthropy.com, and then just send me a message. So anyway, the manual will be finished by the end of the week and out next week. So I hope it might be helpful to some of you. The price point on it is everyone can afford it, and I have a money back guarantee on my products. You buy them, you put them in place, and if they don't work, and you can prove to me that you actually did it, I'll give you your money back. I am certain these things have worked for me, and I've been taught by some of the best, and they will work for you if you do them consistently. So thank you so much for letting me talk.
Benton, that was fabulous. Thank you so much for your wisdom, for sharing that with us today. Thank you to everyone joining us. I just want to touch on 2 upcoming events we are hosting. On Wednesday, August 5th at 11:30 a.m., we'll be having a panel on virtual events and sponsor recognition. That is going to be wonderfully hosted by our own PJ Lang. It will be moderated by her. We on there will have Denise Mariani from Susan G. Komen, Florida. We'll have Joshua Daniels from Habitat for Humanity of Palm Beach County, and Sarah Griffin. I'm not sure exactly what organization she's with, but it should be a fabulous discussion. And then at the end of the month, we are having on, let me find the correct date, bear with me real quick. We are having on August 27th, we're doing a happy hour with Deb Taft from Lois Lindauer Search. That is going to be discussing diversity in the nonprofit sector. So we have some fabulous upcoming programs. You can find out all this information at our website, afpglobalpbc.org. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We look forward to one day getting back together. Hopefully it'll be soon, but in the meantime, we're happy that we're able to provide this ongoing professional development. Thank you once again, and have a great day.
Thank you.